Hey guys, welcome to Becca and the Balance. I'm Becca, and today we are making crispy potato wedges. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to go check out my Instagram page. You can see everything we're doing day to day, check out my family. I'm also over on Pinterest, and you can shop anything you see in this video by clicking the link in my bio and hitting the shop button. There's also going to be a linked recipe there for what we're making today for free to you. Let's get started. So this recipe is for about 4 to 5 medium potatoes. You want to cook those ahead of time and then put them in the fridge so that they're not soft and falling apart. Usually that's the part of the potato we love for a baked potato, but for this recipe, we want to make sure they stay in their shape. So a couple hours ago, I actually cooked my baked potatoes in this Potato Express. If you've never seen one of these before, it's just a little fabric pouch. You put the potatoes in there after you've given them a couple fork pokes, and then you put them in the microwave with this down, and you just mic them for a few minutes until they're soft. There's lots of different ways that you can cook the potatoes. You can do it in the oven ahead of time. I wouldn't recommend boiling for this recipe, but as long as your potatoes are cooked and then totally cooled, ideally in the fridge, you're ready to go for this recipe. Okay, so I know I said 4 to 5 medium-sized potatoes, but I had like 2 large ones and 4 tiny ones, so that's what we're working with. It doesn't matter. You can adjust the recipe as needed. But what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these nice cooled potatoes and we're going to cut them into wedges. Let me show you how to do that. Okay, so I've got a pan here ready. Once we slice them, we're just going to set them in here so that we have a clear working space. So slice them, put them all in here. Okay, so take your potato, cut it in half lengthwise. And if they're nice and cooled like they should be, you shouldn't have any little pieces falling apart. Mine look pretty good. Okay, and I put them down, and you're just going to literally make little wedges. You're going to angle your knife kind of to the side, okay, so that they're little wedge shapes. And if you don't get them perfect, they're going to taste so good, nobody's going to care about how they look. But they should be like that, like a little wedge. And if you don't like the skin, you could take that off ahead of time. I like the skin. It adds more texture, a little more crisp. So some of them will be kind of oblong shape. We're just looking to get them a little bit consistent and nice edible pieces. Now, if you have some really big potatoes, they may be a little bit long and they may fall apart on you as you're dredging and dipping them. That's okay. Again, once you fry those up and serve them to everyone, they are not going to care. So because these are so popular in my house, I'm actually going to make a big batch, and I'm going to fry them all up ahead of time, and then I'm going to try and put them in freezer bags, and I'm going to slowly work to see what the best temperature for putting them back in the oven to get them cooked all the way through and keep that crisp without getting burnt will be, because I would love to be able to keep these on hand because they are just so popular for us. And as a busy family, we always have like bags of store-bought fries on hand, which is fine, but I'd ideally like to have something that at least I've made. Now while I'm doing this, I do have a neutral oil heating up. I'm using vegetable oil. You could use peanut oil. I've actually never used peanut oil. Usually vegetable oil is the one that I use. So I'm going to warm that up to right around 325. That's the perfect temperature to fry them and get them brown and get them warmed all the way through. Remember that your potatoes are already cooked, so you don't need to worry about that so much. You just want to make sure they get warm all the way through. I was making some old-fashioned sour cream donuts the other day, and my oil was a little bit too hot, and so they did not get cooked all the way through, and they got dark brown. So don't ever be afraid to just take your oil off the stove, let it cool, get it to the right temperature, and then try again. And I did. We let it cool, and they ended up perfect. They were so good. I'll share that one soon. These are such a good side to bring to a picnic or barbecue. Super duper satisfying, really good flavor, and everybody loves a fried potato. Okay, so there are all my chopped up potatoes, looking delicious already. Now we're going to make a light batter and flour mixture to dredge them in. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's make that batter first. I don't keep buttermilk on hand. If I'm at the store and I know I'm using it, I'll grab it. But what I do is you can make kind of a buttermilk cheat. You can do, if you don't have buttermilk on hand, it's with milk and vinegar, which most of us have on hand, just distilled white vinegar. Let's say you're going to need 1 cup of it for your recipe. You can take out your 1 cup measurement, put in 1 tablespoon of vinegar and fill the rest up with milk and give it a little whisk and let it sit for 5 minutes and it will thicken. So we're using 2 cups of buttermilk for this recipe. So I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, and then I'm going to fill the rest up to the 2 cup mark with milk. Okay, so there's 1, 2, then we're going to go up to that 2 cup line with milk. Okay, mix that up. And we're going to leave it alone for a few minutes. What we can put in here while we're waiting is our 1 egg, and then I do 1 tablespoon of Lowry seasoning. If you're not familiar with it, you can buy it pretty much everywhere, or you can add seasonings of your favorite. Onion powder, garlic, however you want these to taste, you can add it. Lowry's is a nice mix, and so that's what I'm putting in both my dredge and in my batter. We buy this at Sam's Club because we use it in everything, and I'm actually going to sprinkle our potato wedges with this when we're done too. Okay, and then 1 egg. And again, if you make a bigger batch, just adjust accordingly. We're going to set this one aside while we're waiting for that buttermilk. Okay, so now we're going to make the dredge. That's the flour mixture we put them into after we put them in the batter. So what our base is going to be 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of cornstarch. That just helps it be thicker, and it gives it that great crunch that we all love so much. So whatever your measurement is for however many you're making, 2 parts flour, 1 part cornstarch. Okay. There is that cornstarch. I keep mine in a jar because usually I use smaller amounts, and it's good for mixing it up that way. Okay, and then again, 1 tablespoon of the Lowry's. Love it. Then mix this up really good, nice and even, so that each potato wedge has a fair, equal amount of everything that's in there. You can also put this in a Ziploc bag. I actually end up finding that it ends up being kind of a mess because we put it in the batter first and then in here, and so then you're reaching in the bag, and it just gets to be messier than I prefer. But if that's your jam, go for it. So I've brought the beginnings of our batter back. We're going to go check on that homemade buttermilk now. So it won't get crazy thick. You'll just notice there's a little bit of a difference in the texture, and that's all we need. So we're going to put that back in here. And just give it a good whisk. So I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty, but I do end up getting a lot of nastiness under my nails when I make stuff like this. So I've learned to just wear gloves. It's easier. I pulled you back a little bit so you can see my whole setup. I've got my cut potato wedges, I've got my batter and my dredge, and then I also have a pan over here with one of my cooling trays so that when I put the batter on there, they don't just kind of sit there. I want to shake off any excess that's on there, otherwise it's just going to fall into the oil and burn and change the flavor of things. So what the first thing that I usually do is I put a bunch of my potatoes in the batter and just kind of get them coated. Okay, perfect. And then I move a bunch of them over to the flour.
While I'm coating these, I wanted to note here, if you want them extra crispy, you can first dip your potato wedge in the flour, then back into the batter, and then end it in the flour. That will get them super crispy. You can also add a half a cup of flour to your batter.
And make sure you check on your oil while it's heating up. If it gets too hot, turn your heat down or just remove it from the burner for a couple minutes. I just removed mine from the burner. It was getting pretty toasty. Okay, so then shake these off. See how coated that is? And then just set it aside there. We want to give it a chance to let the moisture sink in with the flour and just let it all kind of combine for a minute. Now I also like to, since I work in batches, I don't have a fryer, I'm just going to do it on my stovetop. I like to put my oven on a warm temperature. So my oven actually has on its own a warming button. The lowest though that it will set is 170 degrees. So if you have a stove that doesn't have a warming on it, that's fine. Just go to like 150 to 170 degrees. And if you're working in batches, as you fry these up, you can just transfer these onto a baking sheet in the oven so that they stay warm while you're doing the other one, so you can serve a nice warm through meal that's evenly warmed for everyone. So we're going to just follow the same pattern here until they're all done. Just make sure you roll them around really good to get all the sides completely coated. Okay. And I like to take them out of the pan as I put them in the pan. You might notice I work from the front to the back. That's why I do that, because this one's now had the appropriate amount of time to sit in there. Give them a little bit of a shake. These are such a staple for us. I'm not really sure why or if they are for everybody else. I guess they must be because they're in the deli at a lot of stores. But we used to live in Montana. That's where my husband was born and raised, and both my kids were born there. And there was this town called Corvallis. They had this little Merc there, and it got a remodel. And once they remodeled, they changed up a bunch of their recipes, and they used to have, and maybe they still do, the best Jojos. And this is the closest that I could get them to that recipe. It's definitely what I tried to model it after. There's like a really good crunch. The ones you get at the store are just like almost just fried, but not really like with a crunch on them really. These ones were very crunchy and very good. And they were huge. I don't know where they got these potatoes from, but like a hand length of a potato, like Teenage Mutant Ninja potatoes. So you may notice that your dredge gets a little bit chunky in there because of all the moisture you're adding to it. That's actually desirable. Those little chunks are going to stick to your other potato wedges, and they're going to give it even more of that crispy coating. I like that. Okay, gang, we got them. Let's move over to the stove, and I will take off the mitts of disgustingness, and we will fry these up. Okay, guys, we are on the stove. The oil is hot and ready to go. I have some tongs. Make sure that your oven is either warmed with a pan on it so that you can put your potato wedges in there when you're done, or you have a paper towel over a plate so that you can drain them as you go. Let's put those in that oil and watch them crisp to deliciousness. So again, working in batches, you don't want to crowd them in there. To get sizzled, and then have some more of your seasoning ready so that once these come out, while they're still hot and they still have oil on them, you can dump some of that seasoning on them, and then it'll really stick to it and give it that flavor you want. I know we added it into our batter and into our flour, but it does cook off, so you want to have some on hand. Now, if you've never fried before, putting these in here will cool your oil down, so you're going to need to adjust it. It may end up getting too hot over time. Lower it. Just keep checking on it. If you notice that they're cooking too fast and they're turning black before you've even had a chance to flip them, turn it down. Okay, so they're looking so perfect. You don't need to flip them until they start to brown a little bit. It's usually about 3 to 4 minutes on each side. It just depends on how hot your oil is, how cold your potatoes were ahead of time. So just keep an eye on them. You'll know when they're done. You can pick them up and check them along the way here. So my batter is getting all bumpy and crunchy like that. That's perfect. We just want them to be a little more brown, a lot more brown. Okay, so we are definitely getting there. We're a little more brown. My son just checked in. He knows what's going on down here. Can't keep him away from food. The 4th of July and summertime in general are one of my favorite. There's something so special about summertime, the food, the atmosphere. It's just fun all day long, and that isn't typical year round. So summer is one of my favorites to look forward to, especially as a homeschool mom, because I get all that time off then. But I try to fill it with a whole bunch of other stuff. We've made lots of trips already down to the lake, and we've got plans to travel this summer, and I hope you guys have fun plans headed your way too. I think we are brown enough to start flipping. So even if it's not super dark on that side, once you flip it, it's going to continue to cook in there. So go ahead and give them a good flip. It looks so good. My family is a bunch of ranch lovers, so I have to make sure that we have ranch on hand for when I serve these, because otherwise we get a lot of disappointed looks. So because your potato wedges are probably all different shapes and sizes, just like mine are, don't be afraid to pull one of them out and set it aside if he looks like he's done, and let the other one cook a little bit longer. You can continue adding them in there. Since you're not putting in 50 at once, it's easy enough to just check them and take them out as they've browned. By the time I post this video, I will have really good thaw and recook directions for you. I'm very excited about being able to have these on hand. They're not like a hard thing to make, but they definitely take time with the frying. So if I can get this part done, get them cooled and have them in a freezer and all ready to go, and just put them in the oven to warm, especially on like a busy night, I'm very much looking forward to that. So at this point, you should have those directions here, and you are welcome ahead of time. I'll probably just store them in a freezer bag flat so they're not on top of each other. We don't want to lose any of that delicious crunchiness on there. So I'll store them flat in a freezer bag, and then I'll label them and date them, and I'll put the directions on it. Oh my gosh, they're looking so good. Drain that oil. So there we go. Doesn't that look so good? Oh my gosh. So we'll put that aside. And these other ones are about there too. So I'm going to put these on. I have a pan here with a baking sheet over it so the oil can drip off. Normally I would put these in the oven to keep them warm, but I want you to be able to see them here. So I'm going to work in batches. So this batch is done. So while they're still warm, I'm going to sprinkle them with this Lowry seasoning again. And I'm going to give them a flip and give them another sprinkle. Again, I know that seems like an awful lot, but the flavor is going to just get in there with that oil. And this way, it's the best thing to do it when it's still warm. Okay? And that is it for those. I'm going to finish frying up the rest of these, and I'll be back in just a second. What are you doing? So I'm frying up my last batch. You can probably still hear it. Here's what I have so far after my son has pilfered a little bit, and I do have some cooling. I'm going to put these cooled ones into a bag, and I'll let you know down here the best way to reheat those. But let's give them a try. I've made these so many times. I know they're going to be delicious, but they're always good every time. That crunch. What is it about potatoes? So comforting and so good. Salty and crispy. Perfection. The recipe for these little beauties is linked in my bio, free to you. You can also shop everything that you've seen here today. If you click the link in the bio and hit the shop button, make sure that you like and subscribe and follow for more. I'll see you guys next time. Maddox.